court today. They all waived their right to appear at arraignments scheduled for today.
However, Mr. Trump is expected in court in March in Washington, D.C. and here in New York for criminal trials in his other cases. So joining us this morning is attorney Janos Marton to explain how this will all play out while Mr. Trump runs for re-election. So good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's begin with the case in Georgia first and foremost, because that's what's kind of happening today, right? Since all the 19 defendants pleaded not guilty, I guess what exactly comes next in the case?
So this is a RICO case, which means it is a complicated conspiracy case where prosecutors are alleging that there's an entire criminal enterprise working together, in this case, to overturn the legal results of the Georgia election. That's why there's 19 defendants. Now, so you imagine with 19 defendants, the case gets complicated. What's happening next, as soon as today, in fact, is several of the defendants want the trial to happen more quickly, so they may be split off from the rest of the trial. There are other defendants, like Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, who wants the case to be in federal court. So there's a couple steps that are going to play out over the next few weeks to determine what exactly happens next in the Georgia case. But it's moving very quickly, and there's a world in which it takes place before some of the other cases you mentioned.
Can you talk about the severity of these racketeering charges against Trump, and do you think they'll really hold up?
RICO is serious business, and the Georgia RICO law is very expansive. It's been used by DA Fani Willis many times. In fact, she's used it dozens of times since she's been district attorney against everything from school teachers to rappers to, the Georgia Attorney General is now using it as protesters. So the RICO law in Georgia is very strong, which is worrisome for Trump and the rest of his co-defendants. That said, President Trump does have defenses. There are going to be arguments that some of what they did was not actually illegal. It was just politics. It was free speech. It was the federal government acting in its own right. Unfortunately, you've got some serious stuff on tape here. You've got emails, text messages. Most infamously, we all remember the request from the Secretary of State that he find 11,780 votes. So there's a lot of damaging information for the president in this case.
Just a quick follow-up question on that, though. Is it risky, I guess if you could say risky, for prosecutors to have all 19 defendants co-defendants instead of one individual, for each charge?
Absolutely. It makes it a lot more complicated, to be sure. And that is one difference between this case and the case that Jack Smith is pursuing at the federal level, where Trump is the only defendant. There are 4 charges, not 41. And so that certainly is a strategic choice that the Fulton County District Attorney made.
Well, there's a strategy there because for many reasons. Well, first off, Mark Meadows wants it on a federal level because then he can get pardoned, just like Mr. Trump was saying he was not wanting it on the state level because of that. But the strategy behind, and correct me if I'm wrong here, about having everybody in one is that hopefully some will flip and create some sort of plea deal and then testify against Mr. Trump.
Well, the most interesting thing about the hearing today about severability, which is the splitting off of several co-defendants, is 2 of the attorneys involved in this case have asked for a speedy trial, and they are going to receive it. And if they are found guilty in the month of October, they may very well be incentivized to plea, to participate.
So they're allowed to separate altogether.
That is what this afternoon's hearing is about. And the answer is most likely going to be yes, because they do have this right to a speedy trial. We have a speedy trial law in New York as well. You also don't have to invoke that right. And so Donald Trump is not asking for a speedy trial, but 2 of his co-defendants are, and so they may have their cases decided as soon as late October.
But how likely could that be, that they would sever from?
I think quite likely. Yeah.
And while that's all going on, right, because that's just 1 of 4, so that's what's happening in Georgia. But then looking ahead to Washington, D.C., that's expected to begin on March 4th. We're well into the election cycle by then. How's that playing a factor?
Absolutely. And it's my understanding that Jack Smith really wanted this case to be wrapped up before the Republican convention, and so as not to interfere more than it already is in this election cycle. And the judge seemed to be of that mind as well.
What's interesting, though, is that his numbers go up every
time
he's in court.
Absolutely. It probably will not affect his chance of winning the Republican
Could the trials have a domino effect, right? So whatever may happen in one case affect another case if he's found guilty or not guilty? Could it affect the other cases?
Absolutely. Of the 4 trials, the 2 that are similar are the ones we've been talking about, the Georgia Fulton County case and the D.C. Jack Smith case. There are 2 other cases that are related to that are unrelated activities. We have the Mar-a-Lago boxes case, which is a separate matter altogether and probably will not even happen before the election. And then there's DA Alvin Bragg's case, which we've talked about here before, which is a totally unrelated set of facts as well. And DA Bragg has said that he is willing to push back his case so that Jack Smith's case can go first to avoid there being 2 trials at once, which judges probably wouldn't allow that to happen.
I mean, the timing can really affect everything. I mean, because March 4th is also the day before Super Tuesday.
Absolutely.
So any chance that might affect the trial? Could it be delayed because of that?
When you have a trial date set like that, there's always adjustments that can be made, a matter of weeks, days. I think it wouldn't be far-fetched for it to be later in March, perhaps, but by setting that date, the judge is setting an expectation. In federal court, when the judge sets a date, everyone works towards that. It's not like our New York State courts where a date can be pushed back pretty much infinitely.
I mean, there's a lot going on here, right? Because we're talking about March 4th for D.C., March 25th back in New York, supposedly for the Stormy Daniels case, a totally different kind of case altogether. And that's when you're talking about that could be delayed.
Yes, absolutely. If the March 4th trial is seen as something that's been going on for a while and they need to push back DA Bragg's case, he's said that he's comfortable with
Yeah, can't be in 2 places at once.
The other interesting thing, too, is that in Georgia, the trial, if it does go to trial, could be televised.
That's a huge difference. And, you know, under Georgia state law, the presumption is that it's going to be televised. For most Americans, this will be first time seeing, I mean, first time any of us have seen anything like this, but really most of the legal maneuverings in all the Trump cases have happened behind closed doors. So this will be very different.
It's going to be a busy year for you and for everybody, right? We'll have you back many times, I'm sure, Janos.
Absolutely. Looking forward
to it. You're hired. Thanks for joining us
Thanks,
this morning. I appreciate your perspective, as always, to kind of help us navigate so many of these legal maneuverings here.
Thank you.
There are a lot of them.
Yes, yes, yes.